Good evening. Welcome, and thank you for joining us for our TI Technology webinar hosted by Texas Instruments. Tonight, we're going to focus on how TI technology can help your IB students. My name is Ruth Casey, and I will be here to host. Throughout our session, we'll be using the WebEx chat panel to share comments or ask questions. And so, when you send a chat, please choose everyone from the drop-down menu and send out a question or comment. We invite you to try that out now. If you have access, depending on the device you're using, to the chat panel, go ahead and send a chat. Tell everybody, hey, where you're from, maybe the temperature where you are. Just let us get to know each other. Hi, Dan.
Hello. Well,
Oh,
it is 45 degrees in Greenville, South Carolina right now.
okay. Well, it's 42 up here in Kentucky. Thank you. We'll read up and down the chat and get to know each other a little bit. As a reminder, the session tonight is being recorded and will be available for viewing or reviewing after the presentation. If you experience any audio or video issues that can't be resolved quickly, feel free to just sign off, take a break, and watch the recording later. You'll be receiving an email with information about the audio recording as well as the certificate of attendance. We'll share that with you at the end of tonight's session, but also you'll get that information in email. Tonight, we are fortunate to have with us star of stage and screen in the classroom, Dan Wilkie.
Hello, everybody. Thank you all for joining us. I truly appreciate it. And I was just noticing, sorry that it is, a little chilly around the country. Everybody's feeling it right now. But I do appreciate it, and hopefully you're staying warm wherever you are. I am, thank you, Christina. That just makes me feel so happy. Um, it's been a while since we had a little webinar here. I think it was April was the last time we had done one for IB getting ready for the exam. So for those people who had joined us before, welcome back. For those people who are new, I hope you enjoy it. I hope you can get a little tidbit from what TI can offer you and your students in your IB classroom. So just let me introduce myself. My name is Daniel Wilkie, or Dan, that's fine. And I am an IB teacher in Greenville, South Carolina. I teach at Christ Church Episcopal School. Right now, I would normally be doing this from the comforts of my home, but I am at Furman University. I'm hiding in their library right now. My son is at a theater competition, and I had to sneak away from it. I'm one of the chaperones for it. So I get to hang with you all for the next hour, which I'm very happy about and can't wait to get going here. But I'm going to try to do things a little bit differently. For those people who have joined us before, we're going to, in our past webinars, we would focus on specific math topics from the IB curriculum. And we'd maybe look at an activity or talk about what we're doing through TI and IB. I'm going to go through a couple activities that we've recently put together. I'm going to show you where to find them, how you can get all this wonderful information. But I'd like to also feed off of your questions, especially when we get to the calculator portion toward the end of the webinar. If you have any questions about how to use the 84 or the Inspire, or if there's anything in particular you've always wanted to know, when we get to that part, just have that question ready and we'll try to answer so that we can help everybody else out. Because I'm sure a lot of people would love to hear your question and for us to try to answer that for you. Because again, the IB community, we need one another. And I love sharing what I know. I love hearing from other people. There are always people who come on these webinars and have information that adds on to what I'm saying. And I love that. I love that everybody just wants to help and share and learn more about what we can do to better our students. So the more you could do that, the better. So first off, thank you again for coming. Let's just take a quick peek. Just a little bit more about me. I've been teaching IB now for about 20 or so years. I've teached all level teached. That's why I'm a math teacher. I'm not an English teacher. I have taught all levels of the IB math courses. Currently, I'm teaching the standard level analysis and approaches, and I am also a moderator for the IA, and I also grade paper one for the applications and interpretations class. So I got a lot, I got many levels of different perspectives going on. I also get to work with people around the world with through IB and TI, which is just, I got to go and talk to people recently. Currently, I'm talking with people in the Netherlands, helping them out with their TI and IB needs. I got to talk with people and go to Australia last year to help them out. And it's just to see everybody's perspectives and how they handle all the material and their classrooms and their students. It just, opened your eyes to things. And I just love this community. One of the things I love about IB is you just get to hear from people around the world. And that's what we're here for. Anyways, so on tonight's agenda, all right, I've done the introductions, so thank you, Ruth, for being a part of this. Ruth is always there with me through every webinar, and I love her, and I could not do this without her. We're going to go through the TI website, show you how you can easily find the materials, activities, questions to help you through the process. And then we're going to sample 2 or 3 activities and show you hopefully good things. I was just looking at a few of them before we started, and I reminisce about writing them and what I put into them and how I'm trying to help everybody through the process. And I would love your feedback because honestly, it's kind of me. I'm doing the activities, and so if you have any feedback, good, not so good, just let me know. I would love because I'm always writing more, and if I get your feedback, I can incorporate that into the next round. And when we're done with those activities, I'll show you what I'm currently working on, the different types of activities that we're doing right now. And then at the end, we're going to look at the calculators. And then if you have any questions, stuff that you've wanted to know or how to use, or I would love your feedback and questions there. And then any suggestions for either future activities that you think is really needed for your class that I can write for you, or that you can maybe even help me write. Or if and then I can also, we're having another webinar in April, and any topics that you would like to see for a webinar, I would love to hear from you. So that's the agenda for tonight. So let's jump right in, all right, to our wonderful, where do we go to find our beloved IB website on TI? So I'm just going to share my screen here for you all. So let's just share. All right. And please do not judge me for the number of tabs that I have open. I get a lot of comments at school about how many tabs I have open. I need to know everything that's in my brain at that moment. So I have to have so many tabs open. Again, do not judge, please. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to the Texas Instruments website, which is just education.ti.com, to try to find. Now, they used to be a little bit clearer with where we go. It has changed ever so slightly. So you have to dig a little bit. So I'm going to show you where that is. If we go to the activities button, it used to be actually right on this drop-down screen. They removed it, and that's okay because it's still there. All we have to do is click on activities. All right, and then you get to scroll down to the bottom, and it says IB Resources, International Baccalaureate. Here is our little place to find that wonderful information. Now, also right below it, you'll see down here at the kind of box that has every link in it, we also have the IB Diploma program. So you can either click the Learn More there or the IB Diploma right there. Okay, so I'm going to click on the Learn More. And here we are at the IB website. So this is a growing um, web page that we add to pretty much every semester. So right now, thank you for asking that question. It says, is this exclusively regarding content for the diploma program? I'm currently working in the middle years program. So yes, currently is the diploma program, but is that something that you would like to see added on there? Because right now we have activities, yes, that you could still use them in the middle years program. So honestly, there are topics that are covered from, eighth, seventh, eighth grade, all the way up through 12th grade. So there are topics there that are covered. But would you like to see middle years program specific type of topics? And if that's a yes, then that is something I would love to add, to this website. Uh, all I have to do is say, hey, can we start, doing an MYP section, just to give them some activities to work on to kind of get them in that global mindset. So I would love to see that. So on this page, we see just a quick overview of what you see there, and then you'll see the first thing that's on the page. We have the activities. So that's the main highlight for this website, and you can choose. There's a few drop-down menus that you're going to go through to get to what you want. I'm just going to click on the analysis and approaches to start. So if I click on that one, all right, I click on that one. Hello. Why is it not working? It's not working. I don't know why my screen is not working. Why is my screen not working? So this happens. Oh, there it is. All right. So we have actually, it worked when I clicked on the applications and interpretations. I've had some issues and I just want to too many tabs. Thank you so much, Michael. I love it. That is what I wanted to. You were the first person to mention it. Thank you so much. Um, I gotta close some tabs. You're right. I really do. So actually, this is the applications and interpretations button. So what you will see here is every activity that falls under the heading of applications and interpretations. So as you may realize, there are uh, there are two. There are, I think, there's a group called the core that is within all four math classes. So the standard level and higher level for both courses. Most of these activities fall under the core section. So under topics 1 through 5, you have certain material that's covered by all four classes. So a lot of these activities, to get the ball rolling, fall under that material. So what you first see without clicking anything else, this is every activity that we've created or enhanced for the four math classes. And you'll see that there's dark blue for your 8384 if you're an 8384 user. And then once we get down to the bottom, there's light blue for the Nspire. Okay, and what we try to do is each of the activities can be done with either calculator. And that's one of my jobs with TI, is to take existing activities and create them for both platforms. Or when I create a new activity, I have to create it for both platforms, because some of you love your 84s, some of you love your Nspires. I'm taking care of both of you, I hope, for that situation. So what you would do, you would you'd click on the curriculum topic, pick one of the 5 topics from your general group. So let's say we wanted to, what was the first one to do? Yeah. So if we want to click statistics and probability, it will only show the statistics and probability activities. Now you'll notice it has both the dark blue and the light blue, so it's both Nspire and 84. But if you're an 84 user, you would click on the technology tab, and here's what you're given. So what we have currently for the applications and interpretations are 9, 10, 11 activities for you to use to help you out with your classrooms. And so use them as you can. We're going to go through one, just a quick little sample. What was the one that I wanted to do here? Too many choices, sampling techniques. So you'll notice that a couple of them say new and updated. What that means is every semester, I either create or update 12 activities. And so once they are uploaded into the system, writes a little new updated note saying these are the newest ones that have come out. So here's one percentiles. You know, if you like that one, that's one of our newest ones that had come out. Currently, and I'll tell you this a little bit later, I'm working on a normal distribution activity to go along with our province stats group. So that's all we have to do. We select a topic. Let's say you like calculus, which is the one I wanted to do. Was it calculus? So we have a couple new ones. Actually, we have a lot of new ones here. We have a particles journey. We have related rates, optimization. So a whole bunch to choose from calculus. Under functions, we have, you know, some simple ones with points, lines, and slopes, and transformations. All right, those are new. So lots to choose from as you kind of just select the topic going through them. So one that I wanted to look at today, what was the one I wanted to? Oh yeah, it was under numbers in algebra, amortization. I had several requests when I was doing my prior webinars. A lot of teachers asked to do some finance stuff. So we created this activity. And from this activity, again, there's an 84 and an Inspire version. And here's what you're going to see when you click on the certain activity tab. You'll see a general overview, maybe a little screenshot of what you're going to do on the calculator. And then at the bottom, you'll see a zip drive. So you got a zip folder of all the documents. And then you'll have two versions. You'll have a PDF version and a doc version. So the PDF, of course, it's set in stone. You're not going to really change too much about that. But you're also provided with a doc version that if you like it, but you want to make some adjustments, or if it gives too much and you want to save some for later, or if you want to add to it or change the numbers around, you can alter both the student and teacher notes for this activity. So one thing I love about each of these activities is they come with an IB question, okay? So really we have over 50 activities. We got between 50 and 70 activities that are available to you, and they all come with their own IB question separate as a separate document. And so what we try to do with it, and I'll just click on this IB question really quick before we get to the activity. So this is a financial math question. It comes with the question, an exam style question, plus the mark scheme that goes with it and what you earn for each step of the process. So this is included with every activity. So we have between 50 and 70 exam style questions for you to use through the process. But that's just the beginning, because what I've been doing is I've created these activities. So I'm going to just click on the student activity here for this one. At the end of each activity, I've included also, all right, so I'll go through this activity in a second, but I just want to show you something really quick. And I know I'm scrolling through this kind of fast, but I end, okay, with a IB style question also. All right, so every one of the activities has an additional IB question. This one actually has two of them. So you'll see it says further IB application. I've included one or two more questions that you might see similar to an IB exam. So in addition to the separate IB question, I'm also throwing one or two more into the activity. And what the activity tries to do is it tries to build up to that application problem at the end. So you're getting a lot for just one activity with respect to IB style situations. So let's just take a quick peek at this activity. So one thing that I am charged to do is to create some symmetry and consistency through the activities. They're trying to get all of our ITI activities to look the same, to have a similar flow to them. So this is a very good example where you'll have an overview to start, where it gives you maybe the goal or a little explanation to the activity, a little screenshot of something you might see down the line in the activity. And then a lot of times I'll give you some background information. Maybe the students have seen this information before. Maybe this is the first time they're seeing it. So what I have provided are some background notes to what they're going to be covering with respect to what amortization is, what an amortization table is, how are they going to use it, how can they apply it if they're going to ever get a loan in their future, what are they going to use it for? So I've done that. I've also included some formulas in the style of, what IB is asking. So you'll see that happen a lot in the activities. So you get a little overview, maybe some background notes, some IB information up front. I try to include the formulas to look like IB so that they're not confused, because I know here in our wonderful either Algebra 2 or pre-calculus textbooks, the compound interest formula looks a little bit different than it does when you hand out that formula sheet for IB. So I try to make that connection when I'm doing these activities. And then we start the problems. We just go into some real life, maybe some simple ones to start, examples where the kids are using the calculator or using the formulas just to kind of get a hand of both, get a handle on both. So I will request them to do kind of both variations as they're going through the problem. So, and you can see it's pretty straightforward, setting up a compound interest problem. How do we do it by hand? So how do we use the financial solver? What you should know is that IB has come to the financial solver side, and they're now expecting students to use the financial solver, even more so, honestly, than doing it by hand. Or last year when I was grading the AI paper one, the compound interest problem that was on there, I think there was one or two of them where they had to use some sort of finance on it. They Mark Scheme just had the numbers to input into the finance solver. So really, IB is pushing that technology for students to know. So here's just a box for them to kind of create on their own. So that was one way to solve it. And then I asked the students in the next example, how do you fill out an amortization table using that finance solver? And stuff that I just love is those things are available on the handheld for the students. They can be created by just a few button strokes for them to do. And so this activity goes through there. So what if you're a new teacher and you're just unsure of what to do for an amortization table? Because TI doesn't want to leave you hanging when it comes to activities like this. So if you're a new teacher and maybe it's the start of the school year or right before the start of the school year, and you like this activity, but you're a little unsure of yourself, that's where the teacher notes come into play. So those are available for you. So if I just click on the teacher notes doc, all right, and then open that up, all right, and okay, thank you. So here we have that. For the teacher notes, you will have the same look, and this is something else we're trying to do, is get the same look for all of our activities with respect to teacher notes. So you'll notice it says teacher notes. We have this little IB aligned. These activities that we create are not, sanctioned by IB, but they're aligned with the material for IB. So we want to make it known that yes, IB is aware that we're doing this because we've talked to them and let them know. So it's aligned with the material, but IB is not, putting, showcasing this on their website. So what you will see is the objectives. We try to be pretty straightforward. Don't put too many bullets down there in each activity. So if you need to write stuff for, some of your districts need some lesson plans, that sort of thing, you have your math objectives listed here. You have the vocabulary that's going to be used. You have the specific, you know, um, from the syllabus for your courses. And you'll notice that, it says 1.4 in both the AA and IA. So it's used for both courses there, but it also in the amortization, that's an applications and interpretations course uh, topic. So it's kind of says for that course only. So, but I would still honestly use it for the AA course too. I think it's good to know. It's one of those, real world topics that can help students. So then you'll see, the files that are associated with it, some general knowledge about the 84. This is also the same look for the Inspire. So there's the same idea here. And then we get into the activity. So what comes with the activity, you'll see there are teacher notes of how to find this information. So this is where myself and TI are trying to help you out through the process. So you can kind of go through, there's teacher notes about the different keystrokes, how to get to the financial solver, some screenshots that will be useful to kind of help you along the process when you're doing this information. And then it goes through the problems. So here's problem one. It goes through the solution. Here's your solutions for both the financial solver, for the amortization table. And something I'm trying to also do with each activity is basically a question like this right here, where it says, explain how you can use the table values to find monthly payments. So there's a lot of have your students explain, discuss, talk with one another throughout the activity, because if you're an IB teacher or if you're an AP teacher, students, they can do the math, but they have to be able to talk the math. They have to, explain themselves through the process. And so in each activity, I try to throw in those explain and discussion questions so they are learning to speak the language so that we can understand it. So whoever's reading it knows exactly what they're saying. So there's a lot of that. And I try to throw in teacher tips throughout to help you along the process if you're feeling unsure about yourself, just going through the activity. And so you can see we have the same financial solver in the next question, but now we have the technology doing all the work for us. And I throw in a reflection piece there at the end. Discuss with a classmate how the 84 has helped you through this process. Okay. So that is just one of my favorite things to do when I'm doing this activity, is just let the kids talk it out. How did it help you? And because not everybody will have the same answer. So it's going to be good for everybody to hear one another speak. So these are not activities where you're just going to give it to the student and let them work for 30 minutes. Okay, the goal is for them to work with one another, talk with one another, and allow you to float around the room, listen in on their conversations, maybe push them or, just shove them in the right direction a little bit sometimes. You can add to the conversation, talk with them, but it's just, again, it's there for you to help them, for them to help you, just to talk it out. And hopefully the teacher notes will help you through the process. But this is one of those things where I would love, the feedback. If you see something on there for this particular activity that, hey, maybe it doesn't make complete sense, or if it could use a little bit more explanation, I would love to hear that from you when you kind of scan through the activities. Because we just want it to be the best it can be to help you in your classes. All right. And then we, of course, end with the further IB applications. So these are, similar to what, students will see on the exam. So I'm just trying to give you and your students as many opportunities to see IB style questions as possible. Okay. So that's basically one sample of an activity, which is the amortization. Just kind of going through how we use the different finance solver and different tables to help through the process. Um, so hopefully that gives you an idea of what we're trying to do with our activities. Let me go through one with the Inspire. All right, so I'm going to go back to my activities. Let's go back one page, go back two pages. So I'm going to go now to hopefully analysis and approaches this time. I'm going to give it a second. There you go. All right. So the other one, I was going to click on a calculus topic, and I'm going to just do Inspire. So I got all my Inspire activities here. And one of the ones I was looking at today, what was the one? Oh yeah, the distance versus displacement, a particle's journey. So this was one I was looking at, and it just made me smile. Kind of. I just got done doing kinematics with my analysis and approaches group. We just finished off calculus stuff. I kind of go in reverse. I do calculus first, and then I'm just starting prob and stats next week, and then I just kind of work my way down and then do the 3-2-1 reviewing that information because they come from me from a pre-calculus class where we've covered most of topics 1, 2, and 3 in that course. So really, it's just calculus and prob and stats that they're learning for as new. So I always try to do those first. Today, we looked at IA stuff. So we just started the internal assessment process as well. I've tried different things with the IA. I've done giving them a 2-week period or a 10-day period just to kind of do it all at once. I've done it over several months, doing little pieces at a time. I'm really kind of on the fence which side I like. I'm going back to the multiple month style this time. So we'll see how that goes. But I just started that process. I'm hoping to have them all completed by mid to late January, if at all possible. So what you should notice, I clicked on analysis and approaches, I clicked on calculus, and then I clicked on just the Inspire. So a very similar setup. We have, the overview objectives, we have the vocabulary, and we have just a little screenshot of particle motion. And then the same thing at the bottom. We have the zip folder, and then we have the PDFs and the docs for you to use. So let's just click on the student activity real quick there and click on that Inspire journey. So what we have here, all right, is the discussion of what is the difference or what are the similarities between distance and displacement. I like this activity. I actually just did it last week with my students, and it helped them to kind of work through not only using it from a derivative standpoint and an integral standpoint, but it also kind of, made them feel a little bit better about knowing the difference and similarities between distance and displacement. Um, they know they know the formulas to find them, but they still question themselves about which one to use at which time, even though it's on the formula packet and it tells them which one to use. But anyways, so again, you'll see a very similar setup. We have the quick little goal screenshot going on, some background information about kinematics and displacement velocity acceleration. And then I threw in, just like I did with the amortization, maybe students are either just starting or maybe they needed a review. So we've jumped right into discussion questions. And again, I love having the kids talk because I say that, and I'm about to say they don't like listening to me for 40 minutes straight, or if it's a block, an hour and 20 minutes straight. They don't like doing that. And what am I doing with you all? I'm talking for 50 minutes straight. So hopefully you're not getting too bored with what I'm saying. But in this activity, we start off with review discussion questions. So discuss with a classmate how using a particle's displacement equation can help you find the velocity. So we're starting with displacement and then going to velocity and then acceleration. And then part B is going in the reverse process. If we start with acceleration, how can we find velocity? And then, well, thank you very much, Christina. And then I gave them a simple fill in the blank for them to say, okay, you talked about it with your classmate, you talked about it with a buddy who's sitting next to you. So now, how can you write it out in notation? So if we're starting with displacement, the S of t, what's another way we can write v of t? Okay, the velocity with respect to time. And all that really means is it's the derivative of the displacement. So we work on derivative notation and we write that down in the little blank. So we're going from, the first derivative, second derivative, or the derivative of the velocity. So those are just a real simple stuff just to review to get them in the right frame of mind to do this activity. Will they have to use derivatives to find the answers, or will they have to use integrals to find the answers? So looking in the second row, they'd have to start with acceleration, and then they'd go up to doing the integral of acceleration to get the velocity, okay, or the integral of velocity to get, the displacement. So again, we're just trying to review or introduce, this notation for them. But then we get into the fun stuff. We get into certain specific, position, velocity, acceleration style situations and have them talk to one another. Because, if you look at, question A2, it says determine if particle A is speeding up or slowing down at t equals 1. But then they have to explain themselves. Okay. How do they know if it's speeding up or slowing down? Does that mean they have to find both the velocity and acceleration and seeing if the signs are the same or different? So this is the stuff they get to discuss, so it's just little things like that is how do they get talking, to better themselves through the process. So it's not all about just finding the numbers and finding that numeric answer, they have to explain themselves. And I also love this little piece right here where they get to share their results with the class. So I try whenever possible to have the students, do a lot of the instruction. And I don't mean they're teaching everybody how to do it, but they're showing what they're doing. Because sometimes, when a teacher does it, they don't believe you for some reason. I don't know why. All right. But when they hear from another student, they'll automatically say, oh, yeah, that's right. I get it now. So to have them do that in front of them, maybe it gives them a little sense of, oh, if he can do it, I can do it. If she can do it, I can do it. So I try to get them to share. The Inspire does a really good job. If you have the Inspires and you have the navigator system and you can have them present it sitting from their seats and put it up on the screen. If you have a smart board, if you have a Promethean board, that sort of thing. I love having them do that work. Whenever they can do that, the better. And so we go through several ideas here where, again, we're always ending with share your results or with a classmate, discuss the math used and share your results. So there's always some discussion, sharing going on through the activity with this. And then we finish, try to reflect on the problem. So whenever we're using the 84 or the Inspire, I'm throwing in to reflect on how did it help? Did it help? Did you need it? Could you do it all by hand? Was it a benefit to have the calculator? A lot of students come to my class just knowing the 84, and I try to introduce the Inspire to them because I'm an Inspire user. Don't get me wrong, the 84 is a great calculator. It does some wonderful things and it's very user friendly. It's simple, and the kids understand that. They get to the Inspire and there's a lot going on the screen. It takes them a while to get used to it. Once they get used to it, they like it better usually. I still have a couple who don't. But there's a learning curve, of course. So there's stuff that the Inspire can do that the 84 can't, and that's what I try to share with the kids is that I'm using this as a tool to help you, not to have it do it for you, but to help you through the process. And it's really kind of whatever what you find most valuable to your students, go with it. 84-Nspire, use what you can. But again, there's activities where they're mirroring one another, all right, as you do this. So then we get into another problem. Now we're doing a graphical situation, and I really love the Nspire screen because I'm allowed to put in the grid form. So if they're finding, they're going from velocity first to acceleration, but then they're going to go up to displacement so they can find the area. So I love how they can just break it up into little polygons just so that they can find the area underneath those curves. So I really like that. And that's an Nspire thing that the 84 can't do. I know there's programs out there that you could just use graphs and put that in there, and that's great. But I have the Nspire, and it works very well for that. So I've taken a different approach in the second problem where instead of, we're just doing derivatives, now we're doing integrals to go through the process. And then problem 3, it's just another sample starting with velocity, going to acceleration, but then we have to go find the displacement if we're given the initial values, the initial conditions. But then we also throw in find the distance traveled, find the displacement. So we're looking at that comparison between the two. So we're trying to work our way up to here's how we use this information. All right, now let's get to the displacement and the distance traveled. And then, of course, we finish off with more IB stuff. So I try to throw in IB style questions to finish things off with 2 in this case. So again, every activity comes with a separate IB question, but you'll also find 1 or 2, embedded into the activity. All right. So I just kind of went through a couple of the activities. And again, just to quickly demonstrate, just to show you the teacher notes for the Nspire, what you should notice is that it's very similar looking to the 84 teacher notes. All right. The only difference to start, you'll see this little picture of the math inspired stuff that you could do because of the computer software that goes with the Nspire. You can use the handheld, the computer, or you can actually use the Apple. There's an app. Sorry, not Apple. There's an app for the iPad. So you could do this on that as well. So very similar setup. You have your objectives, you have your vocab, you have your specific topics, 5.9, 5.13 for that. So very similar to the 84. And then you'll see the breakdown of what you're supposed to write, the tips that I give throughout the process, just to help you, to make you feel more comfortable. So I have thrown 2 activities at you. I've shown you how to find things and what is being offered. I don't think we have time to look at a third one, but let me show you what I'm working on currently and what it actually means to update an activity. So what you should notice is, and I'm sorry I sound a little stuffy, hopefully it's not been too annoying. I've had a bit of a sinus infection. I unfortunately did some mowing of my lawn this past weekend and inhaled about half of my lawn, and it did not work out well. So I apologize. So looking at, I want to show you the difference between how an activity starts and what I'm trying to do to update it through the process. So one that I'm currently working on, actually I was working on it today, was an activity called Back in Time. So here is the activity, all right? So this activity was created back in 2009. And so you'll notice that there's nothing wrong with it. It has, a slight definition, some problems, and basically that's kind of it, okay? So it has a series of questions that go with it. My job is to make it more IB. All right, so I'm turning something that looks like this into what we just looked at with respect to this. So I just finished this activity. It's called scientific notation. So it used to look like that, where it was just a quick definition of scientific notation and a bunch of problems. Okay. So my job is to streamline it, make them all look kind of the same with respect to how they're broken down, the way IB asks their questions. So if you're a seasoned IB teacher, hopefully you realize that on the exam, they never ask a question. All right. There's no question marks on the exam. They basically say, explain this, state this, find this, show this. So they're never really saying, what is the answer to this? So I go and rewrite those questions to fit that style. So I give a little bit more explanation. I try to show some things that maybe IB doesn't like. Um, Looking at this notation up here, I will talk about, the E notation that um, it's useful on the calculator, but students should not be writing that on the exam. That is a no-no. You will get marked down for that. So that should be in the teacher notes. I've written that stuff in there. So I take that just to make it kind of look a little bit more IB-like. So instead of saying, what is the median household income and standard form, I will say, what do you notice about this compared to the numbers that are up in this table? So again, it's a lot of rewriting of the way the questions are worded. And then, of course, I try to lead you up to an IB situation, which is, the further IB application where I'm taking, again, a situation that they try to take a real world situation and incorporate the IB material. And I had fun doing research on this one. Did you know that the asteroid belt that orbits the sun between Mars and Jupiter, contains enough metal that it would equate to $100 billion per person on the planet? That was just a fun thing that I found out about that. Um, so it's just kind of crazy what you do when you find out when you're trying to look for really things that are numbers that have huge values or really tiny values with scientific notation. So that's what my job is, to again turn something that is not a bad activity, it's something useful, and just kind of streamline it and make it look more something that will associate better with our IB classes. So this one, back in time, it's a function machine. It's showing the students what is a function, what is not a function, how can we change something to make it a function. We're going to add a little domain and range stuff in it. So there's a few things that we're going to add to it to make it look a little bit nicer and help us with our IB classes. So that's how I change things. When I create things, just to let you in on my little secret, basically I look back at a previous year's exam, either analysis and approaches or applications and interpretations, and I say, okay, what question did students struggle with the most? Okay, there has to be, a reason why that, I grade 200, 300 papers. Why did 200 of them get it wrong? So then my focus goes to, I need to create an activity for that because maybe I can help teachers, with that topic. And that's what I work on because I create 4 new activities. Okay. So what I do, here's my list. You can kind of get a sneak peek. My new ones that I'm working on this semester, I'm doing a normal distribution activity. I'm doing a Pearson's versus Spearman's correlation coefficient activity. I graded that question, and oh my goodness, out of the 300 papers that I graded, literally maybe 3 could explain the results. Seriously, I wish I was exaggerating, but I am not. Seriously, only 3 could explain what the results actually mean in the context of the problem. So there is a big disconnect there. So I said I have to do an activity on that just to get them to explain it, to understand it, so that when they get to the exam, they know what words to use. They know how to explain in the context of the problem. And so, yeah, so that was a big one for me. So I needed to do that. And a couple other little ones that were a bit of a struggle where there was a bearings problem that students struggled on, and then binomial expansion. So I'm creating activities for that. So you've got a little peek at my mind, all right, how I go about doing that. All right, I have a question here. It says my students have Inspires, but they mostly don't have the computer software on their laptops, and they have probably lost the activation key that came with the calc. What is the easiest way to get the TNS files from these activities onto their Inspires? Okay, so if you don't have the Navigator system, uh, you can, and I hate to say this, but it just might have to do it from either computer to calculator. So just take the cord that came with the calculator, or maybe you have some spare that you could connect from your computer to the calculator. You can also do calculator to calculator. If you have a docking station, you can take your activity from your computer screen and immediately download it to the 10 calculators in the docking station. So you could do it that way. So there are multiple ways you could do it if you don't have the navigator, because not everybody has $2,400 to spend on a navigator. So, but that, I mean, if you had the navigator, I mean, I love it. I can't teach without the navigator. I really can't. It's just so nice to shoot docs and to shoot questions and have them shoot the answers back to me. I just love that. So that's really the best way to do that for them. And I apologize that there isn't that easier way to do it if you don't have the Inspire. Um, and so with respect to the next question, it says, Christina, can you add? So every activity that we have on the website, we are trying to, if it's a new one, it automatically has a parallel. If it's an updated one, you'll have both the Inspire and the 84. There are a few that only have one or the other, but those are the ones we're working on to make sure that every activity has the choice between Inspire and 84. All right, we want to make that as easy as possible for you all. Okay. Calculator skills have shortcuts. Okay. So now that I've kind of showed you that, we have some, what about calculator questions? One great one, in your opinion, what are the 5 indispensable calculator skills app shortcuts that Math AA students need for the IB exam? All right, for me personally, I have to show you this because I just, now are we looking at, so this was Michael, are we looking at the 84 or the Inspire? Which calculator are you choosing for that? 84. Okay, thank you. For the 84, honestly, I would really promote how to use the financial solver. Okay, that's going to save them so much time, especially, and let me throw this out to you, is knowing that one of the values has to be positive, one has to be negative with respect to your future or investment or present future value or present value. So knowing that, so share that fact with them because I saw a lot of students unfortunately get that wrong on the exam because they had the same values, the same either both positive or both negative. So that is a good one. Knowing um, how to find zeros on the calculator and how to find mins and maxes, and I'm sure you go through this with them. But I just gave a test at the beginning of the week, and it was not my brightest moment. I have to admit. It was a calculus test, and I made sure for each question and they could use the 84 or the Inspire because I have some students that love the 84. Uh, and I made sure and wrote question 1, use a calculator. Question 2, this is no calculator. So I told them you must use the calculator. And what they struggled with is when it was a calculator question, it was as simple as graphing it and finding the zeros. It was as simple. The first question on the test, it was find the maximum distance. And when they looked at the graph, they just found the maximum point. They didn't think about, oh, a maximum distance could mean that, oh, it's not necessarily the maximum up above. It could also be the minimum because that could be farther away, all right, than the maximum was. So just knowing how to find the mins and maxes, knowing how to find the zeros, the financial solver, um, honestly, knowing how to do the numeric solver is another wonderful thing to do. Uh, it might save them some time. Uh, Also show them on the 84. They kind of, and I'm gonna quickly show this for you. I got so many things open right now. On the 84, because we're running out of time, but you asked the question, and I want to show you really quick. Students tend to avoid um, some of the apps that are available to them. Okay, there is no. All you have to do is clear and reset. On the 84, but you have stuff on the applications that actually are useful, and really it's number 9, all right, that is the one that really should be used quite often, because the Inspire has this available, okay, which is how do we find simultaneous equations, all right, and the polynomial root finder. So that sort of thing is really important for them to kind of go over, just to help you out. So I think I got a bunch there. I don't know if I got 5, but hopefully that was helpful with the 84. But those are the ones that I would highlight. And one thing that I love, if you don't know this on the Inspire, and this is what I'm going to close with today. You're welcome, Michael. Hopefully that was helpful. Oh no. Let's just launch and sign in. Is it not going to allow me to sign in? Sign in. Okay, sign in success. So if you did not realize, and TI has gone to a year-by-year license. But let me tell you this, if you don't want to pay for that license fee, please contact your TI rep. Every state has one. Honestly, every country has one. They can help you get the teacher software. So please contact them. You can find that. I don't know, Ruth, if you have that link to find your ETC that can help them find that. That would be great. One thing that I love about the Inspire, for those people who are Inspire users, I'm just doing something simple here. It was just this graph. It's easy to find out what the zeros are. And maybe you know this, maybe you don't. But if I wanted to find the zeros or the vertex of this, I would go to menu, I can go to analyze graph, and it has those things, just like the 84, okay? But one cool feature, and I'm going to end on this, okay? I actually love the trace function because if I click trace and then graph trace, all right, one thing that you see, if I scroll to the left, it pops on the 0 and it says 0 and here's the 0, okay? Or if I scroll down, it says the y-intercept, which also happens to be the minimum. It would say minimum if it wasn't the y-intercept. So it tells you that. And then if you scroll this way, it says 0. It tells you that. So that's another quick feature if you use the Inspire, that you can find those values really quick without going through the analyze graph and finding them individually through there. So I just think, if some of you knew that, great. If you didn't, that's wonderful. I'm glad I could help. But I have talked now for 50 some minutes. So thank you so much. for listening to me. Hopefully, I was helpful. Please, in your uh, so if you in the chat, or if you want to send me, because we're out of time here, if you want to send me to my email address, if you have any ideas for future webinars or activities that you'd like to see, okay, I am including my website or my email address for that. But having said that, I'm going to turn it back over to Ruth, all right, to finish things off.
Thanks, thanks so much, and thanks for all the interesting comments and questions in the chat. This is still open, so keep them coming. Dan has asked for some information, so I know that he will appreciate it. In the email you'll get shortly, it'll give you a link to the slides for tonight. It'll give you a link to getting a certificate of attendance. So all of these great slides, Dan inviting you to send him ideas, comments. And yes, we have a winner for the drawing.
Who is the winner?
All right. Tonight's winner is Bayram Erkmez. Congratulations.
Congratulations. You get TI technology.
All right, so I will be contacting you to find out some more information so that you can get the technology that you wish, and so that I have your email address, mailing address, all of that. So be on the lookout for an email from me, Ruth, your host for tonight. Let's see what else. A link for a certificate of attendance. I've put that in the chat. You will also be getting that via email. Let's see, a certificate of attendance. We've announced the winner. We've shared some information and URLs. Remember, depending on the device that you're on, you can save the chat for tonight. And in a few days, you'll be getting the link to the recording and other information related to tonight's event. That's all I need to say. Dan, we'll let you close it out.
All right, I have Samuel had said a question about the app in New Jersey. Samuel, can you send me an email at my wilkiedan@gmail to remind me? Because I'm going to find that answer out for you. So if you could do that, that would be great. Because I don't know the answer off the top of my head. So, but if you could send me to that wilkiedan@gmail, that same question, I will get that answer for you. But thank you, everybody, for this. This was wonderful. I appreciate your listening, and any wonderful feedback from you would be great. Thank you so much. Bye, everybody.
Bye, everybody. Thanks.